All right, this is Elisha Medlin with 5 Elements of Wholeness, and I have a special guest today. Her name is Tammy Ward. Tammy has got her head on in the freaking game, and she has produced dozens of life-changing conferences since 2014, helping to bring clarity to thousands about healing. Tammy also produces the largest Utah homeschooling conference in the state. And her company has also published several books about energy healing, hosted dozens of intimate, affordable healing retreats. And Tammy is a popular speaker, mentor, conference producer, author, and healing arts advocate. She is so super grateful for her happy marriage of 21 years, 8 kids, and 2 precious grandbabies. So welcome, Tammy. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. And we talked a little bit before about the challenges that are going on right now in the world with COVID-19 and just all the different, changes in not only the school system, but just in our life in general. And I wanted to get some input from you about what your ideas are on managing our emotions, how to move through all of this energy, because not only is it a lot of stuff, but then there's energy attached to it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and a lot of people do have a certain amount of empathic ability, meaning that they can feel other people's emotions. Now, some people may not be aware of it, or maybe it's not as intense for other people, but there is a certain amount for every single person. And so I just want to go on record as saying that, first of all, but also because we know that there's a lot of things that we can do to help not just ourselves, but also our family. So thank you so much for the invitation to come on today and just talk about this very important topic. So for myself, I would say a steward for quite a few people. You just read that bio, and every time somebody finishes the last of it off, I'm like, oh yeah, I have 8 kids. That's a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Wow. How did we do that? Like, wow, that's a lot of humans, right?
Yeah.
But if you are a steward for someone else and you're aware that they have been struggling and that they've been feeling a lot of the collective energy that's floating out there in the world, I just would encourage you to not just be someone who is being very mindful of that and aware of that, because what happens is if they go off the handle, or if they have, like a crying session that doesn't seem like it's normally them, or, it's good to know that, because it allows you to give them some grace.
Yeah.
And just like take a step back and go, okay, this person that I love so much, this person is struggling right now. And then also to have some tools for them, like at your disposal, that you can teach them and help them with. But I would say that the number one way to teach them is by modeling your example with doing that. So if you have yourself been feeling overwhelmed at all, or just extremely sad, or even angry at what is happening and what's going on, or maybe you've even noticed some grief, or just this intensity of this conglomerate of all these different emotions, right? It's just this like, whoa, there's just so much out there. Be aware of it and be mindful of it, but then choose to do something about it. You don't have to just be like, okay, this is where I am, and then just stay there. You can choose something different. So I have 3 tips that I prepared to share with you today. And the first one, I think a lot of people really are pretty familiar with this, but there may be someone out there, and as I've been meditating, preparing for today, this one just kept coming up and there was no way I could leave it out. So I'm going to start out with that one. And that is called a write and burn. And I was taught initially how to do this by one of my personal mentors, Kirk Duncan, from 3 Key Elements. And what you do is you take a piece of paper and you just, for little kids, they can scribble on it what they're feeling. It doesn't have to be in words. But writing down what you feel, just like the overwhelm and all of the negativity and the frustration and just whatever, you just write it all down, and you don't have any judgment over it or anything like that, you just write it down, right? Sometimes I might swear even a little bit. Like there might be some words that come out that I normally wouldn't say, but it's just like a way to like explain my frustration. And then at the end, I actually rip it up and I burn it. And it is a way to dispel that energy. And whether you believe in energy healing or not, this totally works. Back when I was 14, I actually was really super suicidal. I don't share that with a ton of people, but I feel like I needed to share this today. I was really having a hard time. And I had this journal where I wrote down all of these poems about different ways to take my life. And I remember this journal was pretty full. And actually, I was dang good at poetry. So some of these I was just like, really did not want to let go of these. But I took it around the back of the house and I burned it. And I did not have any feelings of wanting to end my life for a very long time after that. And I really believe that that had a big part of that, burning that. So all of that emotion that was inside of me, it was a way that I put them down on paper. But then when I burned it, it just let it go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So have you done that for yourself before?
Yeah, actually I have. I've done it a lot, and I've taught my
Good.
children to do it as well.
Good.
And when I first learned it was back in 2014 from Kirk Duncan
Good.
too.
Oh, good.
And my little one at the time was only 3, and I had her do it, and wow, the night and day difference with her, because she was having meltdowns after meltdowns, and she was really clingy and having a hard time even letting me leave the space to go even to the bathroom without like a meltdown, you know. And so I had her do that, and she just scribbled and used all different colors of crayons, you know, and it made no sense to me, but it doesn't matter because it was what she was expressing, right? She's like letting it all out, letting it go. And within just 15-20 minutes of doing that, it was just a huge difference for her. You could tell her aura and her just her countenance was just so much lighter, and she had so much more
that's amazing
management of her emotions, I guess. You know, 3-year-olds don't really have a lot of management anyway, but just like she was just calmer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is a very awesome tool, and I teach my clients that too. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you know, it's okay to do that like as a weekly activity with the family. Like gather them all in a circle, you know, okay guys, we're going to have like, I don't know, our family, I don't know, we do a family treat once a week. So we're going to have our family treat after we do this, you know, or we're going to play Uno or something fun like that. Like give them something that you're going to do afterwards. But definitely it's okay to make that part of your family culture so that like, hey, this is what we do, so that we can all be at peace with ourselves and also with each other. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Exactly. And just I want to kind of put this in because I know you kind of mentioned it, but us moms, you know, when we have those little ones, and even the little bit older ones, teenagers and mid-teenagers, they don't let you see their stuff anyway, but you know, like the little ones and up to about probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. Oftentimes, and I've had this with my clients, and I'm sure you have with yours, is you know, they do those write and burns, and then they see what their kids do, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm such a terrible mom, I'm so bad, I can't believe my child's doing this, you know, and all this, and then they take on all of their child stuff and make it their issue. And you know, that's something I know for me, I have tools that I teach my clients to do to help release that for them, so they're not taking that on. What do you teach your clients if they have those kind of issues too?
So that they're not taking their kids' stuff on? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, they're taking it not personally, you know, they're not going, oh no, you know, if I was a better mom, they wouldn't feel this way, or if I was better at this, they wouldn't feel, you know, that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, my smile's going bigger because I'm thinking, I think every mom at one time or another has gone, crap, I've messed my kids up. You know what I mean? Like, what did I do or whatever? But I think recognizing that that's a human thing to, you know, like you're responsible for your kids and stuff. And they, if they're having a hard time or if they're, you know, struggling or whatever, but just recognizing that it is not you, it's part of the human experience. And also I recommend people not read their kids' stuff. Yeah. Even if they're like super curious and they just kind of want to like peek over their shoulder, like don't do it.
Right.
Because you do have that temptation, but don't do it. In fact, I even teach my kids when they're doing it So they might have, so actually give them a clipboard. And so it's easy. You don't have to rip it out of a notebook or anything, right? But as they're writing it down, they also have another piece of paper that's over it. So not even their siblings can read it.
Ah, that's a good
And
idea.
it is, because it's a way to protect, you know, each other from taking on that stuff. But I mean, I have other stuff too. Like you said, I do energy healing conferences. So like we have stuff like stones at our house. This is tiger's eye. My husband has a tiger's eye bracelet also. It's very manly looking, but he's an empath. We know that. And so he's a UPS driver. So he's like all over the
All
place
over,
all the
right.
time. He's walking into different locations and whatever's going on in there. Sometimes things are heated. Sometimes people are really sad and they don't see anybody else all day. You know what I mean? And so the tiger's eye is actually a very grounding energy. And it also is a protective stone. So there's things like that. Labradorite, like if your family likes stones, just do a quick Google search for protective stones or grounding stones. And I mean, there's lots of different things that you could do. I myself also wear stones every day for this reason also. But I mean, gosh, even the electromagnetic radiation, I like this copper wire that's inside of this. It's just like a resin. But I like doing things like this because it allows you to not take on the other things that are floating in the air.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, there's lots of things that you can do. I like stones because they're super reliable. They hold that frequency consistently. So you don't have to be thinking about it all the time, you know?
Right.
But definitely give yourself some grace if you've ever felt like that before. And, you know, I've told my kids, you know, I'll pay for therapy later if you need it. Like, I honestly, and I'm not saying that as a joke, like, I'm not perfect. I know that. And I've made mistakes and I'm going to give myself some grace. But in the process, I was like, we're growing up together. And believe me, that's what it's like.
It is.
So I've never been a mom of this many kids before. Like, we're going to do this together. We're going to figure it out. It's okay to sit down and cry together and make mistakes together and just give each other some grace as a family. Like, hey, we've never been through this before as a family. Let's not be so hard on each other. Let's forgive each other, you know?
Right.
So yeah, definitely. I hope that wasn't too much of a mouthful for you there.
No, I love that because I mean, that's exactly what it is. And it took me a long time to figure that out. You know, I thought I had to be this perfect mom when I first started being a mom, and I have 4 kids and now I have 3 bonus kids. So I have a total of 7 kids, and like, I get it. It's getting to the point over the last probably 6 years where I've gotten to that point where I just tell my kids, I'm like, look, I am so new to this. I've never been here before. You guys have never been here before. So we're like learning this together.
Yeah.
And, you know, as long as we keep going to our highest source and we just keep teaming up with, you know, with our Heavenly Father and just stay in that course, you know, of course we're going to make mistakes along the way, but, you know, we keep ourselves grounded and centered in that truth of knowing that we're in this together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Very cool. So what other, you said you had 3 tools. So you have the Write and Burns and you have the stones. What's the third one?
Okay, so the second one was just kind of like another way for protective energy. But the second one I have is to make sure you're taking care of your physical body. That is your nutrition and your exercise, because people don't actually recognize a lot of the time if they are stress eating or if they are eating things that don't resonate with the highest frequency of their bodies, if they are out of alignment with food, that can make a big difference on their emotions. Yes, your physical can affect your emotion health as well, but also movement. If you haven't been moving, if you're totally sedimentary, it can make a big difference. And so the second tip I have is just being very mindful about what you're eating nutrition-wise, and then also having movement. Not yesterday because it was rainy, but the day before, I took my kids to a park with a really nice walking path. And I said, okay, guys, after 2 miles, I'm going to order your favorite pizza. And they said, oh my gosh, are you serious? So they went all around. Now I'm talking my 5-year-old even, up to my 4 youngest, all the way up to my 12-year-old. They all went around the walking path. They did 2 miles. Then I ordered the pizza. Then they did 2 more miles. So they all did 4 miles. I did 6 miles. And together we got some movement in. And was it okay for me to eat a piece of pizza? Yeah, I got gluten-free because that's what my body wants, you know?
Right.
But was it worth that bribe, if you want to call it that, right? Like, yeah, because I watched my kids the day before. I watched them. They were fidgety. They were like argumentative with each other. They were kind of like even super contentious, fighting and stuff. And I literally went to meditation immediately and prayer. What do my kids need? And it was they need movement. I didn't have the energy right then to do it. I was like, okay, I got to psych myself up for this. We got this. So just doing that regularly and being aware of what your physical body needs, because it does have a play on your emotions as well. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is meditation. And because I know I have squirrel brain like crazy, and I know that when I don't meditate, it makes a huge difference in how I feel. You know, there's that, I don't want to say it's a saying. There's that scripture that says, be still and know that I am God. And it is powerful to be still and to commune with your higher power and to just have that calmness. And I'm such a goer and a doer like crazy. Initially, it was extremely difficult for me to meditate. And so what I started doing, if you're not a meditator, if you've never done this before and you're watching this webinar right now and you're thinking, I really do want to do that. Here's a few tips to help you. Number 1, set your timer on your phone for 10 minutes. Number 2, put on some calm meditation music. It'll actually help your thoughts to drop down just a notch, right? Not in negativity. I mean in brain wavelength, meaning that it will actually calm you down. Another thing is I have a meditation, or you could call it a prayer, or you could call it a, you know, whatever kind of journal you want to call it. But I start with a question, whatever that question I need an answer to in my life right then. I start with writing that question at the beginning of my page. And I don't have to like sit and ponder on it necessarily. I'm just, my intention is to just be still. And if you need a good guided meditation, my favorite guide online, her name is Kelly Howell, Kelly, and then Howell. She's put me to bed for like 4 years now. But her company is called Brain Sync, SYNC, and it is amazing. And she has different, you can go on YouTube or Spotify or whatever and go and look at her different resources. But she's got a 5-minute let it go meditation that I put on for my kids whenever they need it. It's just part of our family culture now, you know, like we want to be meditating consistently, because I notice a difference in their overall emotions. During that meditation, I have the intention to release and to let go and to just be able to be calm and to be able to find answers to what I'm looking for. Like, it's a big deal in my emotional health. And if you go on the mayoclinic.com, the official Mayo Clinic's website, if you go look up meditation, they have literally dozens of different physical benefits and mental benefits that come from regular meditation. So I encourage you to learn more about meditation and how it can help in all of the different areas of your life, not just your spiritual health, but also all the other parts as well. So those are my 3 tips. So write and burn, pay attention to your physical, right? Your nutrition and your movement. And then number 3 is meditation.
Awesome. I love that. And, you know, just to kind of go back to the health and nutrition, I love that one. Was a big one for me when I came to understand health and nutrition as far as that goes. Drinking water was a huge deal. Even more so than nutrition for me physically, because I would go days with only drinking like 8 ounces of water in like 6-7 day period. Wow. And so my body was so dehydrated. And when I started to drink water, I started to notice that I was drinking, not only was I drinking more, but then like my skin got softer, and then my vision got better, and my thinking got better, and my sleeping got better. And it was like, wow, just drinking water makes that big of a difference. And I know there's so many people out there that have a really hard time drinking water. And they'd rather drink juice or, you know, a soda pop or coffee or teas or those types of things. But the water is what our body needs so much to get it into alignment, because water has such a high frequency.
Yeah.
And so when we drink it, it helps bring our frequency and our alignment back into, you know, wholeness, so that we can get that conduit to our higher power, so that we can be aware and receptive to the energies around us with our children and our spouse, and be able to be a more effective mother. At least that's what I have seen in my life. And I know I've seen it in my other clients' lives as well.
Awesome.
Is there a specific kind of nutritional foods that you recommend that you've seen has been beneficial, not only for you, but maybe your kids, your clients, your family, just in general?
So I'm not a nutrition expert or practitioner by any stretch of the imagination, but I would say listen to your body, number one, because if you eat something and you recognize that you feel off, or it gives you a stomach ache, or maybe even gas or something like that, like just don't eat that. And, you know, make sure that you keep a food elimination journal, and so that you're watching that. Now, I'm not saying that you can't eat it ever, but listen to your body. If your body's giving you signals that that's not a food that, you know, is in alignment with you, then, you know, you got to pay attention to that. I know I was out weeding my strawberry garden, not yesterday, but the day before. And my horse is right on the other side of the corral fence, which is it's just right there. And I heard my horse fart every 10 seconds. It was out of this world. I was like, what is happening? So I told my husband, I'm like, we cannot give her that hay anymore. We obviously, that is a signal from her body. Like, this is not agreeing with her. And so he goes, you know, I noticed it too. And I'm like, why didn't you say something? Like, we can't just like let our horse be suffering like that. We wouldn't do that same thing to our own bodies as well. So if there are signals, listen to them. And, you know, it's not that they can't change, but for right now. So just be aware of that. And I've taught my kids that, you know, like my husband, he was eating avocados, and every time he would eat avocados, his throat would get itchy. And I said, well, you might have an allergy to it. Well, just the other day, he said to me, you know, every time I drink the limeade drink that we make at our house, it's got limes and raw honey in it. It's super delicious. He said, every time I drink that, my throat gets itchy. And I said, you know, when you were thinking that your throat was getting itchy before, you were having avocados, but we always put lime juice on it. So we're doing like almost like this little investigative work. He goes, oh my gosh. So he tried some avocados without lime juice, and he was totally fine. So sometimes there's these little indicators that it's like a mystery. But, you know, you just pay attention. Itchy throat, if it gives you a rash, like if it gives you a stomach ache. I know whenever I eat a banana, I feel like I have to cough. It's crazy. I love bananas, so I'll eat a banana. I can't breathe for a few minutes. It's like, might not be the best choice for me. My body's telling me something there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, because our bodies will tell us. That's exactly what they're designed for, is to let us know
we just
what
have to
works
listen.
and what doesn't work. Exactly. All right. Well, before we go, I just had another question for you. I know that with all of this stuff that's going on, and you talk a lot about homeschooling, and I used to homeschool my kids too. I love homeschooling, but now there's new shifts in the whole school district. You know, there's new regulations that are coming out. I know a lot of moms are worried about that. I know their kids are worried and having a lot of anxiety in this. And not only just in the regular schools, but there might be moms that are going from public schools to homeschooling because they don't want to put their kids in that. But there's all this, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I even make this happen? And, you know, I know that you have lots and lots of recommendations on what you can do for those moms that have their kids going back to public school, and how to help those kids manage and regulate their emotions, and what resources moms that are wanting to homeschool, what they can do with that.
So I actually don't have very many recommendations for moms who are having their kids go back to public school. I've had a couple kids in public school this last year. I've been a homeschool mom for 15 years, but I had a couple that went to public school this year. That was what they chose to do. And I totally honor that. After learning about some of our local districts, new policies that are in place, they said, please don't make me go back. I said, I'm not making you do anything. It's your choice. So as far as going, I don't know what their local school district, because it's all chosen by the local school district, right?
Mm-hmm.
So based off of what is happening, I don't know what's going to be happening in your school district, but I would make sure that you are definitely sure that wherever your kids are going, that they are safe. And I don't mean
safe.
just safe from a virus. I mean just safe. Just make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you feel that your kids are safe, even in a mental environment as well, not just physical. Because, you know, that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to get political or anything like that. And I don't want to have more haters right now. So I'm just going to say this. If you do decide to homeschool and you do feel that that is right for your family, there are tons of resources now. Back in the day when I very first began, there was not hardly anything available. Now there's so many options, you know, tons of different online resources. There's ways for kids to connect even online. There's so many things that you can do. And even with all of the social distancing requirements and stuff, most likely there's going to be some local groups in your area. Contact me if you are looking for a group in your local area that you would like me to connect you with. I'm on Facebook, Tammy Anderson Ward, or you can also go to Winter Homeschool Conference. Either I'm on Facebook and on also the website, winterhomeschoolconference.com there as well. And I'd be happy to give you some support and some resources and connect you with people in your group. I don't want to say that homeschooling is the end all for everyone, because it's not. There's some kids that they're not going to thrive there. Know your kid, make sure that this is really about you. You're the steward. Make sure that your kid is where they are supposed to be. Make sure that you feel really good about whichever course you take. And you're going to be able to have that confidence and peace by doing some researching and some learning. Don't just chalk it up to, well, I don't know how to do that. And so we're just going to go this other route that we know. Do some research, you know, spend some time with yourself and your kid, and, you know, make sure that you guys feel right about it. And if you start something and it doesn't feel right, well, you can always change it up, right? It doesn't have to be this like permanent, eternal decision, right? Which type of education that your kid's going to get right then. So don't be afraid to start something, and then if it doesn't work out, change it back. So those are probably my best tips on that. But we are putting together a free online school with lots of resources right now. And so your viewers can go learn more about that on any one of my pages. So we'll be posting that everywhere.
All right. And they can just get in touch with you if they go to your Facebook page?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I'll make sure I'll post it on there. All right, Tammy. Well, I sure do appreciate you spending time with us today and being able to give us so many amazing tips and tools. And I think that this is going to be a huge benefit, especially for a lot of us moms out there that are struggling right now with all the upheaval, new stuff that's showing up for us. So thanks again, and you have a fantastic day.
You too. Thanks so much, Elisha. I appreciate you having me on.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.